Hey, my name is Micah. I'm a pretty pretentious cinephile, content creator, and filmmaker, and this is Monday Musings, a weekly series of brief reflections on cinema and other adjacent topics. So today, I wanted to talk about discomfort movies. Got my little sticky note here. Let's get into it. The phrase a comfort movie is super common. We all have those films that we've seen since we were children that we really love and we just go back to because they make us feel really good. And so in this video, I want to talk about the opposite of that, which is discomfort movies. And what I'm arguing here isn't that like it's bad to feel good or it's bad to go back to the movies that we really love that make us feel all warm and fuzzy, but that feeling good is sometimes mindless. And that's the first thing. And there's a couple of different things underneath this that I wrote down. The first is that when we go back to these films that we know really well, and are often pretty shallow, right? These are just fun movies. Like for guys, it might be just Mission Impossible, something that we just kind of go back to that's just fun and mindless for us. When we go back to these movies over and over again, there's less chance for education, right? I love rewatching movies. I love going back to my favorite films. And I'm not saying that I don't have comfort movies that I love to go back to, but that these films often have less chance for education, either because you've seen it a million times or because in the first place it wasn't created for the purpose of educating you. It wasn't created for the purpose of growing your brain in the first place. And that's the second thing, is that familiarity turns off the brain, right? When these are either a movie that we're familiar with or the concepts in the movie are just shallow, familiar things that we already understand. It's not challenging us at all, right? Mentally, there isn't any challenge here. There's nothing that has to really be figured out because we already have it dialed in, or the movie doesn't give us anything to figure out. And the other thing there is that because of this, because that familiarity is kind of shutting off your brain and you don't really have to think about things anymore, it's difficult to be edified by the movie. And that's kind of the second thing, which is that not only can comfort movies sometimes be mindless, they can also sometimes be soulless. And this is what I think is really important, because this is just in my opinion, and it might be a little extreme, but I think it's definitely true. It's that the point of cinema, the point of movies, and film as an art form is to move us as human beings. It's manipulation. That's the art form. That's what it's based on. And so we want to be moved in a couple of different ways in order to get a proper and good experience out of watching a film. We want to be edified, we want to be inspired, and we want to feel something emotionally, right? When we're looking at a film, a really truly great film, that's a film that's edifying, that's inspiring, and that's emotionally mature. And that's just not something that you see very often in these comfort film type movies. Again, I'm not saying that these movies are bad, or even that they're lacking artistic quality, but just that they're not as good as films that challenge us both mentally, emotionally, spiritually even, right? Good, true art is going to do those things. It's going to challenge you. And so I would encourage my viewers to, when you're choosing a movie next, find one that's going to challenge you, right? Find one that's going to ask you hard questions that you don't know the answer to, that the film might not even know the answer to. Look at those movies instead. Instead of going back to your 100th rewatch of Titanic, right? Try to find something that's got something deeper going on, right? That has more to it than just those familiar tropes that you see in all your favorite films. Because that's what's really interesting, is that a movie that makes you uncomfortable is because it's new territory, right? When you're venturing into that zone where you don't understand what's going on, right? That it can be really sad, right? It can be a film that's really shocking, a film that's disturbing even, right? But if it gives you it gives you edification, if it gives you a positive message by the end, then that film is going to change you. That film is going to move you, positively, more than the film that you've either seen a million times or that just is shallow in the first place. So I would say, even if you're someone who's sensitive, seek out the films that for you are going to put you in that new territory, that are going to make you uncomfortable, for those couple of hours, so that you can get the benefit of learning and being inspired and being edified by that truly great piece of art. It's both teaching and edification. I got some recommendations for you guys of films that, at least for me personally, were uncomfortable, but I learned a lot from and have become some of my favorite films. So first would be Scorsese's Taxi Driver. And again, just as a disclaimer, as a movie watcher, I always recommend that you thoroughly research films before you get into them. For you personally, what is something that you can handle and what's something that's actually good for you. So this isn't a list of me saying you should just watch these movies, but you should look into these. These are movies that for me personally were incredibly edifying, but also kind of uncomfortable. So Scorsese's Taxi Driver, Scorsese's Silence from 2016, that will definitely be spiritually challenging. We have Prisoners from Villeneuve. Again, something that's dark and sad, but has incredibly true things that are behind it, right? The message is important. The Pianist from 2002 is a phenomenal film. Obviously, Parasite from 2019, everyone should watch that movie. But again, weird and challenging, but it's got some fundamental truths. And then an older one, we got Seven Samurai, which is a classic. Again, might be inaccessible for some people, but is an incredibly amazing movie. All right, that's all for this Monday. Again, keeping these short, so let me know in the comments if this is the kind of thing that you want to see more of, and if you have any other recommendations along the same lines as these films, films that made you uncomfortable but opened your eyes, films that edified you but were hard to get into. I'd love to hear what those films were for you guys so I can check them out myself. All right, guys, stay safe, take care, happy watching.